They say size matters, so it's a good thing these animals can't understand English. But even if they could, they probably wouldn't care, because they know they're super cool nonetheless. Hey guys, my name's Tyler, and today we're talking about 5 of the world's smallest living animals. We'll start with the biggest and work our way down to the tiniest, and if you stick around until the end, we'll examine a 6th miniature species from a time long before man. So no reason to dilly-dally, let's just get on with it. Number 5. You'd be forgiven for mistaking this first species for a worm. Meet the world's smallest snake, the Barbados threadsnake. Found only on the Caribbean island of, you guessed it, Barbados, this miniature serpent attains a maximum length of 4.1 inches or 104 millimeters. It's fossorial, meaning it spends much of its life like a New Zealander, i.e. underground. Little else is known about this species, and it was only named as recently as 2008. It is believed to feed mainly on the larvae of ants and termites, like its relatives, and is thought to be near the lower size limit for snakes. This is because young snakes need to attain a certain minimum size to find suitable food. Any smaller than baby snake's potential food would likely make them the food. And if there's one thing a certain tomato-centric horror film from 1978 has taught me, is that you never want to be your food's food. Number 4. Able to beat its wings 200 times per second during a courtship display, the next species takes the phrase tiny but mighty to heart. Meet the world's smallest bird, the bee hummingbird. It measures only about 2.2 inches or 55 millimeters long and weighs less than a US penny. Of course, it is not the biggest fan of that particular comparison because it's a Cuban native. Like all hummingbirds, this species has an incredibly high metabolism, and to simply remain alive, it must eat nearly half and drink more than 8 times its own body weight every single day. A feat that puts most McDonald's-loving Americans to shame. Females construct nests no bigger than a US quarter using strands of cobwebs, among other things, and in it she lays 2 eggs, which are roughly the size of coffee beans. In other words, I don't see bee hummingbird egg omelets catching on anytime soon. Number 3. The world's smallest mammal by weight is a shrew, the Etruscan shrew to be specific, so not very exciting, As such, meet the world's smallest mammal by body length, the more exciting, Kitti's hog-nosed bat. Native to western Thailand and southeast Myanmar, this petite bat measures a mere 1.1 to 1.3 inches or 29 to 33 millimeters long and weighs less than 0.075 ounces or 2 grams. Unlike the bee hummingbird, which is almost constantly in motion, these guys are largely sedentary, kinda like me. They spend most of their time roosting in limestone caves, only emerging for about 30 minutes in the evening and 20 minutes at dawn. When they are active, it's to feed, also kinda like me. Their diet predominantly consists of spiders and flying insects. Every year, around April, females produce a single youngster, which is called a pup. Not too dissimilar to human babies, these pups are born unable to do anything except cling on to their mothers and cry, non-freaking stop. The latter may not actually be true regarding the bats in all fairness. Number 2. Full disclosure, the next species may not be the absolute smallest of its kind, but it's up there, so I don't want to hear any complaining in the comments, you hear me? Meet one of the world's smallest butterflies, the western pygmy blue. With a wingspan of 0.5 to 0.8 inches, or 12 to 20 millimeters, this butterfly could easily rest on your fingernail. Unless you have unusually small fingernails, that is. 3 decades ago, individuals of this species were first spotted somewhere unexpected, in the Persian Gulf. Now, you see, much like a certain country's military, these butterflies do not belong in this region of the world. They're traditionally considered native to the southwestern US, Central America, and northern South America. So how'd they get there? Well, experts believe their eggs hitched a ride on desert plants someone brought over from the Americas. In other words, humans mucked with the natural order of things once again. Number 1. It's finally the moment you've all been waiting for. Meet the smallest species on this list, which also happens to be the world's smallest frog, and vertebrate. Paedophryne amauensis, or as I like to call it, the eensy-weensy froggy-woggy. Very scientific, I know. Measuring a mere 0.3 inches or 7.7 millimeters, this species' scientific name translates to child frog from Emua. Emua being the name of the village in eastern Papua New Guinea near which this frog was first discovered in 2009. This species spends much of its life on the forest floor in leaf litter, and its calls are said to resemble those made by insects, perhaps because it merely just wants to be their friend. However, if it does, it's clearly taking the king shark approach to friendship because its diet predominantly consists of small insects. Then again, I suppose there's no way to be closer to your friends than to have them literally inside of you. You stayed for the entire countdown. I'm so touched. As a reward, here's your bonus pint-sized critter from the prehistoric depths of Earth's long history. Dinosaurs are famous for having been quite large, but some, many even, were actually quite tiny. Meet the smallest non-bird dinosaur of all time, Anchiornis huxleyi. It was a mere 2 feet or 60 centimeters long and lived in what is now China 160 million years ago during the late Jurassic. Speaking of Jurassic, the Jurassic World stands will probably be upset to hear there's definitive proof this species had feathers. Perhaps more interestingly, though, is that the fossils of this species have been found so well preserved we know what color it was. By comparing preserved melamosomes, pigment cells, to those found in modern birds, paleontologists have determined this dino was mostly gray and black with a rufous head crown. Makes sense it had a crown, honestly. It was definitely a short king.